they said, buy silver, buy gold. It's great, yeah, don't buy Bitcoin. And now, silver is down 30%. How about, do you still think that Bitcoin is shit? I don't know. You should think about it. Hi guys, today something old but also something new. It has been a while since we have spoken about the markets, Bitcoin, gold, silver, dollar and so on. So without any further overdue, unless you have something to say to me, let's jump in and let's see the charts a little bit. So let me just put on the charts here. So what has been happening? So as you can see here, we are now showing you the graph on the daily, so the daily chart of silver. And what can you see here is that basically from, so here is the last year, let's say around September. Let's measure a little bit. So from September till here, and that's around the end of January, so maybe few days ago, it's up 200, around 200%. Guys, can you imagine it? Silver has gone up in how many? 3 to 4 months, 200% up. And basically when you have such a reaction in the market, it's obviously a bubble. It cannot be anything else other than a bubble. My wife, she is dealing with investment, gold, silver, and so on. She said, no, 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 it will continue. And I said, no fucking chance. No fucking chance. The markets, they have to burst. This bubble has to burst because too much money in a very short amount of time has been put into silver. So somebody is pumping up silver. Let's see what's happening with gold. So if we are going from, let's say, September, so somewhere here around to somewhere here, we see that gold, so not silver, gold has gone up around 50% in the past 3 or 4 months. So obviously, guys, obviously it's a bubble. Why? Because no one individually, like me or you, has the power to move the markets in such way to move the markets of gold 50% in 2 or 3 months. Do you realize how much gold, the scarcity of gold has to be in order to move the whole markets, the gold markets, 50%? So those are tons and tons of gold missing in the market. And when something is scarce, people want to buy it and the price goes up. But you know what's the real question? Why did gold and silver, why did it go up? So what's the problem? Let's see how the dollar is currently, and I'll share you my screen. So we can now see here, this is DXY, so the dollar currency index on the daily chart, and you can see that from the, let's say, September till this day, the dollar index, so it was around here somewhere, the dollar index went 4, 5, it doesn't matter, percent went down. Meaning what? If you're looking at the current value of the dollar index, it's somewhere The last time it was 2022 when the dollar was this low. What does it mean? It means that the dollar is weakening. But we have this, I would say, absurd in the markets, something that's not logical. On the one hand, we have high interest rate on the dollar. So to borrow a dollar, it's very expensive. So if you go into, let's say, USA and try to get a loan, it's very expensive. So there were no rate cuts in the past few months. And then on the other hand, we have the weakening of the dollar. Why? Because people are not trusting dollar anymore. They want to get rid of the dollar. And they want to get rid of the assets that are bind and pegged or somehow to the dollar. And they want to put that money into some kind of different kind of asset that will not lose value over time. So we have this absurd irrational situation when the rates are high. People don't believe in the dollar anymore. They want to get rid of it, and the dollar is weakening, weakening, and weakening. And what do we have? We have entire, I would say, nation putting gold on the markets, buying and selling. The only way, the only way to move markets of gold and silver 50 or 200% respectively, the only way to do that is if some bank or multiple banks or nations are trying to sell or buy gold. So those are tons and tons. If you and me go to the markets and try to sell a few 100 grams of it, certainly we will not move the entire market 50% or 200 or 300%. So so basically, I believe the theory, let's say conspiracy theory, that America, they want to get rid of uh, their supplies, their silver and gold. They were deliberately pumping in order to achieve a very high price and to sell at the top to get some, let's say easy money, if you wish to call it like that. And what happened? If we go back to the charts, okay, now you will see here. So let's go back to the silver. So this is the daily chart, guys. So each candle here on the graph represents 1 day of trading in the markets. You know what's the problem? The problem is that this last red bearish candle was executed in 1 day. So this movement in silver of almost 40% was in the single day. If you go back and if you look all of the charts, the values of the silver, try to find a movement of 40% in 1 day. Maybe this, no, it's 5-6%. So if you go maybe here, maybe if we check on here, maybe this, let's see. So it's around 30%. So when was this? It was in March 2020. And we know what happened then. It was the start of COVID and so on. So we didn't have this black swan like event from COVID. So from 6 years ago, that we have a single one bearish red candle that moved the markets almost 30%, 40% in one single day. So this is silver, this is gold. If we check the gold, in one single day, we had 14-15%. Do you even realize how much power and energy we need in order to move the markets of gold in 1 day 15%? Obviously, this is a manipulation of the markets. Someone is doing it on the dumping deliberately this gold and dumping this price, and people were panicking. They were trying to buy gold. Why? Because I said they don't believe anymore in the dollar. They don't know what Trump will do, and basically they want to put money in some, let's say, safe haven. And for most of the years, for thousands of years, people were thinking that gold, silver, and such things were this safe haven where you can store your dollars, you can convert and exchange your dollars to buy gold or silver, and then you will, let's say, fight the inflation, you will store your value, and so on. But guys, did you see what happened? 15% in one day, 40% in few days, 200% in 2 or 3 months. Do you think that this is a safe haven where you have such oscillations in gold or silver, something that's thousands of years here on the markets, and there people are trading, so there are tons and tons of this material, and to move it like that, like so simple, so elegantly in one single day. And you don't think that's a manipulation? Of course, people are manipulating the markets. So don't think that Bitcoin is shit and gold and silver are wow. And we should all buy gold and silver because it's a mean of fighting the inflation, of storing my value. It's shit. Let's see what's the current price of Bitcoin. So if we go back here, let's see the Bitcoin. What happened to Bitcoin price? Okay, if you are looking at on the daily chart, you will see that from September, so let's say from here, we have a downwards movement around 30 to 40%. So very similar as gold. And currently we are standing on this support line in this, let's say, supply zone, this purple box. And currently we're standing around 76, $77,000 per one Bitcoin. So what are my predictions on Bitcoin price, and what will I do now? From my perspective, nothing has changed if you're talking about Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is still something, it's a technology that's proven, that has been here for quite a while, and it's not going anywhere. And we have this problem of people not believing in dollar. The dollar is devaluating, debasement of the dollar, and so on. But in the next 3 months, Sir Jerome Powell, it is the end of his term, and then most probably someone that's, let's say, more on the Trump side will come on the head as a chairman of the Fed. And what will happen then? Most probably 99% they will start printing money. And when this happens, all of the markets will boom, will explode. The stock markets, the gold, the silver, and especially Bitcoin. Meaning what? When we are looking at the charts, so when we are looking at the charts, we'll see here that this is all my prediction. So from here till May, and I have drawn this with this freehand blue line. My prediction is that most probably will be around 70. Maybe we will go lower even to maybe 50, 60,000 per one Bitcoin in the next 2 or 3 months. And then when we change the head of the Fed and they start printing, most probably in the when we start going into the summer phase, will start to pump. And then we will try to get to this support line, this blue line, somewhere around 120,000. So it's previous all-time high, and my prediction that we will get there maybe at the end of the summer, early fall. We will get there and we will retest the old levels of 120,000 per one Bitcoin, and after that we'll see, maybe we'll go to Valhalla and then we'll try to retest this blue line here. And this blue line means that we will maybe go to 170, 180,000 for one Bitcoin. So basically, it depends what you want. You have long term, you have short term, you have mid term, let's say, if you want to invest in Bitcoin. I personally, what I'm doing, so you have spot trading, so that's long term perspective. It doesn't matter what the current state of the markets. Simply each month, dollar cost average, you buy some Bitcoin, a piece of Bitcoin, you put it aside, and that's it. It doesn't matter what's the current price of Bitcoin. And that's something for long term. That's something on the scale of 10, 15, 20 years. So this is one. First, so I will definitely, when my next paycheck comes, I will buy, so dollar cost average Bitcoin and accumulate Bitcoin. This is one thing. Second thing is this mid term, let's say, if you want to trade with Bitcoin on the level of weeks, maybe 1 or 2 months, then my perspective is that for the next month or two, that Bitcoin most probably will go even lower. And then maybe around May, you should be thinking about longing. So making a prediction, betting that the price of Bitcoin will go up. And for that, I'm using the AVADEX exchange because it's decentralized, it's completely anonymous, and why not? You should check it out. There are links in the descriptions and you can trade by yourself. Also, you have for free trading that are, let's say, managed by AI agents. So AI trading, bots trading completely for free. And you can use it if you're using my link, my referral link in the description of this video. So feel free to check it out and use it to your advantage. So for midterm, I'm betting that the Bitcoin most probably will be around 60, 70. So most probably will go maybe even 10%, maybe 15% down. And then around April, May, and when they start printing money, the price of Bitcoin will start to go up and rapidly. So there will be a new bull run. My prediction is by the end of the summer period, some August, September, that will try to retest the all-time high of $125,000, $126,000 per one Bitcoin. And if you want to long, that's the best time for you to long Bitcoin. So from around 50, 55, $60,000, you long and you bet that it will retest 120,000. Most probably, so there is a little chance, but almost zero chance that it will go below $50,000. So it's a historical support. There is a lot of liquidity there, and if you check the MicroStrategy, what's the level, the entry level, the average entry level of buying Bitcoin is, I believe it's around 60, 70,000. So it doesn't make sense for Bitcoin to go much lower. It can go, it can retest, it can get some liquidity to just dump the hamsters who are shorting Bitcoin from the game and so on. And they say Bitcoin is shit and so on. But do you realize if you have a dollar that's devaluating, people are moving away from dollar. It's losing value. There are high interest rates. There are no rate cuts. They don't believe in dollar. You want to change the dollar into something. What? You put it in asset classes like, I don't know, real estate that are also evaluated in dollars, in gold and silver that are pegged and they are checked against the dollar, and you see what happens when some country or bank decided to dump a lot of silver or gold on the markets and decided to crash the value for 40-50% in one day. You see what's happening. So where? So maybe the next thing is we should swap to some another currency, so to move from dollar to something else, but to what? To euro, to BRICS, I don't know, fiat currency that's not available. To what? So dollar is the best thing that we have now. But if you want to move away from the dollar, where will you put your money? And of course, there are different assets, but Bitcoin is surely one of them where people will slowly move their dollars. They will try to buy more and more because it's a digital gold, it's store of value, it's liquid, okay? And it doesn't have this inflationary effects, so you cannot get more than 21 million bitcoins, so you cannot mine more than that, so you cannot print more bitcoin, so it's a good store of value. And I believe that over time more and more people will see the value of this technology, because it's not only a store of value, it's also an underlying blockchain technology that has its utilities, that have this meaningful application in the world. And my personal expectations are and predictions are that the value of the Bitcoin will go at least times 10 in the next few years. So I believe, and it's not unusual to see, and it's not impossible, that the Bitcoin will reach around half a million, maybe even more dollars per one Bitcoin. And then remember this podcast when I said, I told you so. Remember when it will be around 200 or 300,000, maybe even in the next year, during this or next year, it will reach this level, at least 200,000. But in the next 4 or 5 years, it will reach, I believe, $500,000. Then it would be nice to have 1 or 2 Bitcoins in your stash. Do you agree with me? So start now, buy each month. Don't look every day in the markets. It's highly volatile, it doesn't make sense, it's highly manipulative. You don't care. Just put it aside, forget, and you will see in 5 or 6 years what do you have on your account. Of course, everything can go bust, everything can capitulate, but what are the probabilities? So Bitcoin has been here for 15, 16 years. There is a lot of money here, but you know what? There is a lot of money in Bitcoin. But compared to gold markets, silver markets, and so on, it's just a bit fraction of overall markets. So if we would have the same amount of liquidity, same amount of money invested in Bitcoin as we have in gold, Bitcoin would be millions of dollars. And it's just a matter of time when this will happen. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next year, but we'll see in 3, 4, 5 years where Bitcoin will be. And then you will remember me and my podcast. So, guys, this is it. I said, what are my expectations? What do I believe? What do I invest in? And if you want to follow me and follow my proposals and my suggestions, but at the end of the day, this podcast and what I said, it's nothing here is financial advice. You should always do your own research. I'm not telling you to buy, I'm not telling you to sell. I'm just telling you what I think will happen with Bitcoin and Bitcoin price and what I personally will do. Guys, if you want to escape the ordinary, then start escaping the ordinary. Bye, guys.